Thank you for joining us and learning more about the HPV vaccine. We hope you find this information useful and share it with others who may benefit. HPV is the infamous abbreviation for human papillomavirus, a sexually transmitted infection. This virus infects the skin and mucous membranes and can infect several areas in men and women, including the skin of the penis, vulva, anus, along with the linings of the vagina, cervix, and rectum. There exist over 80 types of HPV that can affect both men and women. Some cause genital warts, while others can cause cervical cancer and possibly other cancers, such as cancers of the vulva, vagina, anus, and penis. HPV is very prevalent. It is the most common sexually transmitted infection. The prevalence numbers are astounding. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, approximately 20 million Americans are currently infected with HPV, and another 6 million people are newly infected each year. At least half of sexually active men and women acquire genital HPV infection at some point in their lives. Since some types of HPV can cause cervical cancer more than other types of cancers, this STI is very dangerous and is part of many public health campaigns. HPV is passed from person to person through genital contact, meaning during vaginal and/or anal sex. People may still have HPV even if it has been years since engaging in any sort of sexual intercourse. The big problem with HPV is that most people do not know that they are infected. Therefore, they can pass it on to many sexual partners without even knowing it. A stop to the spread of this infection is necessary to help decrease the number of people that it is affecting. As mentioned, cervical cancer can result from an HPV infection. Therefore, it is important to prevent contracting HPV. Cervical cancer is a very serious disease. It results from abnormal cells of the cervix growing out of control. Cervical cancer can be fatal, but has a much better prognosis and can even be cured if caught early, such as through a Pap test. It is estimated that in this year there will be about 11,000 new cases of cervical cancer in the United States and almost 4,000 deaths from it. These numbers make it clear that prevention of cervical cancer is crucial. There are many things you can do to help protect yourself and prevent yourself from contracting HPV. Abstinence is a guaranteed way to protect yourself from contracting this virus, but we know this is not always easy and sexual activity is not always avoided. When sexually active, condoms may lower the risk of HPV, but only if used all the time and in the correct way. There is still a chance, though, that you can contract HPV when using condoms in the right way, since condoms may not cover all areas of the skin which might be infected. Being in a monogamous and faithful relationship also helps to protect you from HPV, since you and your partner are limiting the number of sexual partners. If you have been sexually active, though, at all with any number of partners, annual screening is key in order to prevent HPV from causing cervical cancer. Make sure to get a Pap test performed when you get screened so any abnormalities in your cervical cells can be detected. This will help protect you from cervical cancer. An additional precaution you can take for yourself to try to prevent HPV and cervical cancer is getting the HPV vaccine. The vaccine protects females from the 4 forms of HPV that cause most cervical cancers and genital warts. Before running out and getting vaccinated, though, it is important to learn more about the vaccine, Gardasil. Gardasil is the only cervical cancer vaccine that helps to protect against 4 types of HPV. Gardasil is manufactured by the pharmaceutical company Merck. Research that led to the development of the vaccine began back in the 1980s, and the Food and Drug Administration approved the vaccine on June 8, 2006. Only 2 years later, this vaccine is one of the most talked about public health efforts and is being widely used.
The vaccine is currently recommended for girls aged 11 and 12 years. It is also recommended for girls and women aged 13 to 26 years who did not receive it when they were younger. The vaccine is given in 3 doses over the course of 6 months. According to the CDC, Gardasil prevents cervical cancer and genital warts by protecting against the 4 strains of HPV that most commonly cause these diseases. The vaccine is highly effective in preventing these strains of HPV in females who have not been previously exposed to them. The vaccine has been licensed as safe. Despite the proven efficacy of the vaccine, many eligible females are not getting vaccinated. The CDC released its first data on vaccine uptake in November 2008, and the numbers were somewhat disappointing. A nationwide survey of girls aged 13 to 17 revealed that only 1 in 4 girls was vaccinated in 2007. This is in sharp contrast to the 81.3% of 13 to 17-year-olds who received 3 doses of the hepatitis B vaccine in 2006. The first barrier to vaccination is cost. Gardasil is an expensive vaccine. It retails for about $375 for the 3 necessary doses. The vaccine is often, though not always, covered by insurance. There is also the inconvenience factor of having to visit the doctor 3 separate times over a 6-month span to receive the injections. Many parents express discomfort with the idea of vaccinating their young daughters against a virus that is sexually transmitted. Also, many Americans are not aware of HPV, nor the link between the virus and potentially deadly cancers. Many are also not aware of HPV's high prevalence in the population. Some parents express concern over problems that have been reported with the vaccine. Nearly 8,000 adverse events have been reported to the FDA in connection with Gardasil. 10 deaths have been reported, although none have been linked to the vaccine. Some parents are also concerned about the relatively short amount of time that the vaccine has been available and about reports that the vaccine's effects may eventually wear off, making a booster dose necessary. The vaccine manufacturer, the American medical establishment, and government health-related agencies have each issued a response to these barriers to vaccination. Since the launch of the vaccine in 2006, Merck has been carrying out a multi-million-dollar advertising campaign to spread the word about Gardasil. The familiar Tell Someone and award-winning One Less campaigns aired heavily in television, print, and internet channels. Merck even placed ads during the coming attractions of several summer movies in 2008, including Sex and the City and Get Smart. In terms of the medical establishment, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends the HPV vaccine for girls aged 11 to 12 and for girls aged 13 to 18 who were not previously vaccinated. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists recommends the vaccine as well. And in terms of government response, the FDA states on its website that, based on ongoing assessments of vaccine safety information, the FDA and the CDC continue to find that Gardasil is a safe and effective vaccine. Studies involving approximately 21,000 girls and women in the United States and worldwide were conducted to evaluate the safety and effectiveness of Gardasil before the vaccine was approved by FDA. Based on the review and assessment of vaccine safety information available, FDA and CDC continue to find that the benefits of Gardasil outweigh the risks. The CDC has also responded to the barrier of cost by providing free HPV vaccinations to girls under 18 who can't afford them through its Vaccines for Children program. Internationally, Gardasil has been approved in over 100 countries, including the 27 countries of the European Union, Mexico, Australia, Taiwan, Canada, New Zealand, and Brazil. The vaccine is under regulatory review in many more countries. Merck is working with a nonprofit organization funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to increase availability of the vaccine in impoverished nations. Merck is also committed to donate at least 3 million doses of Gardasil to low-income nations. This is significant because the burden of cervical cancer deaths is borne by low-income countries, and cervical cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths among women in many developing countries. Back in the U.S., the CDC continues to recommend routine HPV vaccination of eligible females with the goal of 90% coverage. Finally, Merck is conducting a worldwide trial on the efficacy of the HPV vaccine in males aged 16 to 26. The vaccine is expected to prevent genital warts, about half of penile cancers, anal cancers, and some oral cancers. The vaccination is hoped to induce herd immunity, meaning that it could lower HPV prevalence in males and thus in females, leading to a lower incidence of cervical cancer. Want to learn more about Gardasil, cervical cancer, and all things HPV related? Check out our blog at www.cervicalcancersmarts.blogspot.com and our networking site at www.cervicalcancersmarts.ning.com.